Other interesting political news, you have Biden's George Floyd tweet is ratioed, to say the least. Now, I actually missed this. It was recent news earlier this month, and it was found out that it was one of the anniversary of George Floyd passing away, which, spoiler alert, it was one of the biggest controversies in the US at the time. It was a huge political and cultural, not toxic moment. Well, not really intended. He was on toxic, according to the toxicology report, he was on copious amounts of illegal drugs, but in terms of is a visceral moment where a lot of people just 100 really angry at the police. Really, it was a very primal moment. People really didn't think about the facts or logic or reason, unfortunately. Now, again, a lot of people turned him into a martyr and put up statues and literally painting him memorials commemorating this man who, again, if you look at his track record, he was a lifetime criminal who even robbed a pregnant woman at gunpoint. Now, again, I'm not saying he should have died, but if you look at his lifetime career and like, there's the pros and cons of having him in U.S. society. He did so much harm. It's disgusting. There's a reason he spent so much time in jail. And again, robbing a pregnant woman at gunpoint, and people turned him into a saint. And yet, it was actually a smart political move overall by Democrats as this became a political issue because a lot of people saw him as someone who was hurt by the police, which, again, in terms of the police protocol, legally speaking, the police followed their handbook. They followed their training. Again, as a not spoiler alert, this happened years ago, but summarize, the police officer arrested George Floyd for, again, breaking the law. He was using counterfeit bills, which, again, you shouldn't die for. Although back in the day it was treason, and that was actually considered offense deadly. But nevertheless, it was one of those instances where they started to arrest him. He claimed he couldn't breathe. They took him out of the car per his instruction because he was saying he can't breathe. They put him on the ground in the proper, by the handbook, put his knee on him, and he passed away. And one of the officers who was just keeping the crowd back, he was even thrown in jail. Has this become a political issue? Which, my 3 cents, used to be 2 cents, but 40-year hyperinflation, gotta be 3 cents. That's one of the reasons the police officers were so viscerally condemned, is because it became a race-related thing, it became a police thing. It's politicized day one. Now, again, a lot of politicians use this, the left and the right, to gain prospective voters, as it became such a big polarizing issue. Now, Biden, or more accurately, probably Karine Jean-Pierre, who, again, she's the White House press secretary, who has been caught tweeting in her, I forget what you call it, her vernacular, under the president's Twitter. So, yeah, most likely he's not actually tweeting this, which I think there should be a rule for Republicans and Democrats. If you're a public official, there should be, again, we got technology. If you're tweeting, it should be illegal for anyone but you to actually type and send those messages, or tweets, or posts, whatever you want to call them these days. But nevertheless, let's go to this alleged tweet. Now, this comes from allegedly Biden. It says, George Floyd should be alive. He deserves so much more. Today, I join all those who loved him and all those who were touched by the civil rights movement he inspired in remembering the tragedy and injustice of his death. He changed the world. Now let's act in his memory. Unquote. Which, again, a lifetime of abusing other people and taking drugs and stealing. That I can't help but think George Floyd is, well, maybe ironically laughing at hell, but I don't think this is any of his intention. I think some people might argue it sparked a conversation about police accountability. Was that really George Floyd's intention? But nevertheless, a lot of politicians raise money on both sides about this topic, and he even used a picture of him. So it says, today remember George Harry Floyd Jr., born October 14th, 1973 to May 25th, 2020. And he didn't even suit up. He was wearing a sweater, but fashion faux pas aside, it did get 43.3 million views, and yet 41,000 likes. Which, again, for Biden, this is one of the most viral things he's tweeted all calendar year. And again, this might get, believe it or not, I think this will get him some additional campaign funds and support. Again, it's a very polarizing issue. There are people who are worshiping George Floyd, and there are people who are, in my opinion, properly condemning him for a lifetime of ineptitudes and hurting people. Now, going down, one of the top comments comes from Paul Zupa saying, Laken Riley should be alive. She deserves so much more. Today, I'll join all those who loved her and were touched by the border crisis which Joe Biden created, which led to Laken's deaths and deaths of others. Laken could have been any of us. Now let's act in her memory. and that got 24,000 likes. And she was now, unfortunately, she passed away. She was famously killed by a illegal alien who apparently had been deported multiple times, and of course just came back. Paul Zupa saying, will Joe Biden ever remember Laken Riley or any of the other Americans who lost their lives due to illegals that Biden purposely let into the U.S.? That got 7.3 thousand likes. Charlie Kirk said, if you really care about George Floyd, you close the border and stop fentanyl from being importing and killing 100,000 Americans every year. Getting 4.3 thousand likes, which, in terms of political ideologies, I think he should really lean into his idea, which, again, it's not, well, I guess in politics, you could consider it an original idea. I've never heard any other politician ascribe this policy, but Trump is saying if you catch specifically a drug manufacturer or a distributor, there should be a death penalty associated with that. And then Trump, I forget the actual statistic, but Trump goes into the average number of people who die from a single drug distributor or seller, which, I mean, again, 100,000 Americans dying every year because of fentanyl overdoses. And again, a lot of those, and again, obviously, you also have your personal freedom to choose what you want to put inside your body. But in terms of the fentanyl overdoses, also because it's also having even more illicit substances laced with it, courtesy of Mexico and China. Now, Donut Operator reposted the toxicology report of George Floyd, which we can only see thanks to X Twitter. Granted, it is a little too small for my eyeballs to actually see on that screen. Let me pull it up here. I think someone else actually highlighted the specific statistic on the overdose. Yes, so again, so that got 11,000 likes. Later, it's reported by Vince Langman, who said George Floyd was a career criminal who died from a massive fentanyl overdose because he was also a drug addict. Now, this is, again, zooming in on that. The first line item says, no life-threatening injuries identified. And then it says, toxicology report, fentanyl, 11 nanograms per milliliter. And it says norfentanyl, 5.6 nanograms per milliliter. And granted, it's been decades plus since I was in basic biology, so I might be butchering some of the nomenclature there. But yeah, he was on copious amounts of drugs. Going down, Gunther Edelman says, quote, if he didn't swallow 3x the lethal dose of fentanyl, he would be with us today, probably in prison, but still alive. Close the border and stop unnecessary fentanyl overdoses. Getting 42,000 likes, which that's got to be his, I mean, we've been following him for a while. Give that S. Yeah, he ratioed the president, or, more accurately, Karine Jean-Pierre, but nevertheless, an official ratio. Now, again, there are millions of people who do support and believe in George Floyd. People are buying candles with his face on it. I mean, there's a lot of swag and merchandise there. Now, we haven't seen it in the comments yet, and again, I'm scrolling down in order of what the Twitter feed has given me, or the X feed has given me, and apparently, usually it's in the order of number of likes. So we'll see if we can find some contrarian statements. Zeke Akram says, wow, that 4-year appeal to black voters grift is in full effect, huh? Glorifying a repeat felon who happened to die in police custody is the real injustice. The death and destruction of this country and the result of your manufactured outrage is the real injustice. The fact that Dr. Ben Carson isn't celebrated while this do nothing is a real injustice. The fact you took knees to deliberately pander to the real injustice. George Floyd died from his own actions. Keep lying and dividing, though it's all you Democrats seem to be good at, unquote. I got 15,000 likes. Tessa Press says George Floyd died of an overdose. The fact that you can celebrate a criminal is just disturbing and disgusting. You're a criminal yourself, so not surprising. And one of my favorite economic, not professors, theorists? The vernacular eludes me at the moment, but there's a juxtaposition of Thomas Sowell as well as George Floyd, and it says, ask yourself why you've been encouraged to look upon the man on the left instead of the man on the right. And Thomas Sowell, obviously, is a gentleman and scholar. He stood up, as all men should. And I've lost track of how many good quotes that he's come up throughout the years, as well as economic theories. Of all the books on my shelf, I need to add a couple from him. Yeah, one of my favorite quotes from Thomas Sowell is, there's no such thing as solutions, only trade-offs, which the older I get, the more I see that being true more and more. Now, that got 9.1 thousand likes. Let's see. If there's any contrarian statements. Gotta be a couple. Task for us says, never forget what George Floyd, what did she say? What George Floyd is really about. It says, the media and the left have made George Floyd into a martyr, but who is he really? And I apologize, I forget which one of these statistics was inaccurate, because it was fact-checked a couple of years ago. There's only one or two of them. Most of these are true. And it says in 1998, he had 11 months in prison for an armed robbery. In 2002, he had 8 months in prison for cocaine. In 2004, he had 10 months in prison for cocaine. In 2005, he had 10 months in prison for cocaine. In 2007, he had 5 years for an armed robbery of a pregnant woman in her home. When he was killed, he was high on meth, getting ready to drive a car and possibly kill your kid. Too bad the pregnant woman didn't have a gun. Getting unquote. Now that meme. There's a picture of George Floyd with the statistics on it. That got 10,000 likes, which, yeah, fascinating how many people who really support George Floyd don't know these statistics. Which, again, yeah, robbing a pregnant woman in her home at gunpoint. Yeah. See this. Go down more. Zero HP says if there's ever a chance to ratio the president of the United States, this is it, getting 3.5 thousand likes. See here. Another picture of Lake and Riley from Sarah Rose saying say her name, memorialize her, you colossal POS. Getting 6.5 thousand likes. Here. More people. See, Brandon Starka says, remember when he held a gun to a pregnant woman's stomach, just like Rosa Parks? 5.4 thousand likes, which there's a meme or a meme or meme for the win. Tim Swain says, absolutely wild times we live in. How do you think the woman who was pregnant that had her life threatened with a gun remembers him? And someone made a statue of George Floyd holding a gun to her belly, getting 8,000 likes. So not a lot of support here. In fact, not a single positive comment. I'm scrolling. I'm trying to find it. Wait, did we find one? 3-year Letterman says you just violated HIPAA, Joel. No, Joel, by tweeting this without consent. They got 1.5 thousand likes. For a second, I thought it was a contrarian statement. Wait, no, we found one. Okay, we did find one. Okay, finally. I was going to say, I want to say half my mouse battery is gone, but there's a couple of amounts of time and resources scrolling to finally find one. But we did find a contrarian statement. Jules Morgan says, quote, George Floyd was a father, brother, and a son. His life mattered. Rest in peace. Getting 510 likes. Which, yeah, if he was a father, that makes it even worse. So you robbed a pregnant woman, and yet he was a father himself. He was a brother and a son. Well, he was a son. You just described every man in history. Every man is a son. So, but Jules Morgan did get 510 people that like that comment. Now, was she ratioed? Let's find out. Let's see. Heckler Pick says he may have been those things, but he was also a drug-addicted criminal. George Floyd's choices in life is what killed George Floyd. Got 27 likes. Let's see. Saying Digital Fusion Man, his own life didn't even matter to him. Stop glorifying a criminal drug addict. Getting 27 likes. Here. So all these comments, Trey says lobotomy looks good on you, Jules, getting 2 likes. So all the comments are roasting her, but she was not technically ratioed by the number of likes. And again, there are millions of people who do think George Floyd was a saint and a hero. I mean, they're worshiping him at statues, wearing t-shirts with his face on it. Now, again, will this help Biden actually win the upcoming election? Will it get more votes? Because yeah, most politicians, I mean, left and right, I mean, most of them just care about getting reelected or getting elected in the first place. Now, will this get Biden more votes, more kudos, more support? Maybe. I mean, most of the people who already critiqued George Floyd already knew his background. This is just the anniversary of the event. It's bringing it to the surface again, culturally speaking. It's now, another topical thing we were discussing at the water cooler. Granted, we mostly work from home these days, so more accurately probably talking about it on Microsoft Teams or something to that effect. But maybe this will get him a couple more votes. Maybe. I feel like everyone who dived into the topic already, the people who are against Biden, or the people who know the truth about George Floyd, they already did their due diligence, which is a rare thing these days to begin with. But do you think this type of pandering is effective? Especially with this type of martyr. Right? I can't but notice the trend where Democrats, they seem to choose people in terms of martyrs who are just statistically bad, immoral, evil people. I mean, we saw this a couple years ago when it was I forget the specific name of the man who allegedly said, "Hands up, don't shoot." I mean, you had even Eric Holder looked into that just because everyone's, oh, it had to be a conspiracy, it had to be, had to be the police doing wrongdoing. All the research, even the DOJ, led by Eric Holder, said, oh yeah, it was a legally justified shooting by the police officer when the man again making threats and went into his car for a weapon. And yet, I'm sure they got Obama a couple extra bonus points, got him a couple extra votes. So in this case, do you think it'll even move the needle 1% one way or the other in terms of getting more votes or losing votes for Biden? Yeah, but think as more and more people learn the truth about statistics of George Floyd's past, I think it actually might not even 1%. That's too large. I would say maybe a couple hundred, maybe 20, 30,000 people who maybe were going to vote for Biden will not because of this tweet. Maybe. But let me know in the comments. As always, I'd be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in. Again, try to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of the month. So if you could click that button, I would greatly appreciate it. Also, leaving a thumbs up, thumbs down, or comment is a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take the time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe, fight the good fight.